TJ Watt becomes the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. The Steelers reach a contract extension with their star edge rusher. 3 years, $123 million, $108 million guaranteed, $41 million average annual salary. TJ Watt going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler through the 2028 season. Welcome in. My name is Mark Bergin here on behalf of the Arthur Moats Experience, providing my reaction to Watt signing this contract extension with Pittsburgh. The figure makes sense, and the average annual salary is one up. Again, TJ Watt moves past Jamar Chase, who was making $40.25 million. He signed that in March. Myles Garrett signed for an average annual salary of $40 million per year, which surpassed Daniel Hunter with the Houston Texans, which surpassed Max Crosby at $35.5 million. I will say this, I expect TJ Watt's average annual salary to get surpassed by Micah Parsons. TJ Watt, 30 years old. He'll turn 31 in October. Micah Parsons, a lot younger. He's 26. Parsons has had 12 sacks in each of his 4 NFL seasons. But Watt has produced in his 8 seasons in Pittsburgh. He's led the NFL in sacks in 3 of those 8 seasons. And when you talk about the statistical production since Watt came into the NFL in 2017, first in sacks with 108, first in quarterback hits with 225, 126 tackles for loss. That's first in the NFL, first in forced fumbles as well. Do it all off the edge. You can't ask for more, the best of the best. And I'm not surprised that Pittsburgh decided to pay Watt more than Myles Garrett. So let me get into some of the contract differences between the two, because Watt is making more on an average annual salary, but Myles Garrett signed a 4-year extension, whereas TJ Watt signed a 3-year extension. So Garrett's extension gets him an average annual salary of $40 million per year, which is $1 million less than Watt is making, but Garrett also got more guaranteed money, $123.5 million compared to Watt's of $108 million guaranteed. So Watt's making more on an average annual salary, but Garrett's extension is longer and he's making more guaranteed money. Not totally a surprise there, but there's always the debate of who's better, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. This is a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. I'm going to side with Watt in his production every single time. But the fact of the matter is they're both prolific edge rushers. They're both prolific in getting after quarterbacks and raising hell for opposing offenses. I mean, it's just the reality of the situation. But I expect Micah Parsons of the Cowboys to be next up I think Parsons' contract will surpass what Watt got. Is the salary cap just continues to skyrocket and go up and up and up and up and up in the NFL. But that's kind of what I'm thinking with Watt. Watt, in the past 5 seasons, he's had great production too, 73.5 sacks. That's most in the NFL in the past 5 seasons. And the Steelers and Watt don't have to worry about a situation where when Watt was working out his contract extension a few years ago, he did what was called a hold in. So he didn't hold out and not show up, but he practiced off on the side by himself a few years ago in Latrobe before he signed that big contract extension. Now he gets another big extension with the Steelers. But Watt and the Steelers don't have to worry about this when the players report for training camp at St. Vincent College in Latrobe. That happens on Tuesday. So this coming week, Steelers don't need to worry about that. And again, you don't have to worry about a hold-in. Omar Khan, the general manager of the Steelers, was quoted in March as saying, quote, "I'm hopeful TJ Watt will finish his career here," end quote. So Steelers get it done again. Watt under contract through 2028. And I've said that Watt should be a one-hat player. And what I mean by that is a one-helmet player. He should remain a Pittsburgh Steeler for the duration of his career, because it's not just that statistical production that he's had to this point in his career, but how you expect Watt to produce when at the age of 30, he'll turn 31 in October, how he'll continue to produce for the Pittsburgh Steelers and what he means for this defense when he's on the field versus when he's not. Now, a knock on Watt, and I know he battled some injuries this last year, only 11.5 sacks, but he led the NFL in forced fumbles still, and it was still good enough. Even a down year for TJ Watt, still good enough to be a second-team All-Pro. So can Watt get back to that form where he tied the single season record for most sacks in a year with Michael Strahan? A lot of Steelers fans felt that Watt should have been credited with another sack and that he should own the individual record. Can he get back to that type of being a magnet to the football? His ability to get interceptions, force fumbles, fumble recoveries. It's not just the sacks, and he's not just a pass rusher. I look at the tackles for loss where he's very stout in the running game. What I would like to see from Watt would be, can he play his best football in the back half of the season? Because I know he's going to go 110%. Can the Steelers mix in, whether it's a Highsmith rotation and then Nick Herbig off the edge? Can they get Watt some more breathing time on the sidelines? Like, look, I want to see TJ Watt on the field, but again, I want to see him playing his best when it comes to December, January football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But then another thing I'd like to see the Steelers do is move TJ Watt around. So if you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers, Watt is typically lined up over an opposing team's right tackle. My thought process is for as good as TJ Watt is at reading quarterbacks and not just being able to force pass deflections, but intercept quarterbacks at the line of scrimmage. I've never seen anyone else do it quite like him. Most quarterbacks in the NFL are right-handed. But if you can move Watt around and create situations with stunts, blitz packages, and moving him around, the analogy I'd make is how teams hunt weak defenders in basketball on the pick and roll. Can the Steelers do that and say, hey, TJ Watt's going to go up an opposing team's worst offensive lineman with stunts, with different packages, with different formations, move him around to utilize his pass rushing ability to go hunt weaker offensive linemen versus having to have Watt beat the man across from him play after play after play after play when he's coming off the edge against an opposing team's right tackle, where teams can game plan for that with a tight end to chip, with a running back to help out the offensive tackle off the edge, to have maybe even a guard help off the edge to help slow down Watt. I've seen teams triple team TJ Watt before, and he still has made plays off the edge. He's got to be able to keep that going. And especially at the Steelers, a lot of people are saying they're all in this year with a lot of the moves that they've made in acquiring players like DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay. You know, a lot of players whose best football, veteran players who are probably better 4 or 5 years ago. Aaron Rodgers is certainly in that mix. But a lot of people are saying that the Steelers are going all in for a playoff push this season. I think that's true to an extent with some of the personnel they've acquired, but they also haven't sacrificed the draft capital in next year's draft, where I think they have something like 12 draft picks in next year's draft. So the whole all-in mantra, to an extent, is what I would say, but it doesn't provide the full context of all of the draft picks that the Steelers have in what's likely a one and done season for Aaron Rodgers. We'll see, but certainly exciting news. And now you've got to look at the contracts and see who's up next. Now that you don't have to worry about TJ Watt, because that was the big question going into training camp is, okay, a lot of excitement with Rodgers at the quarterback position, but when's the Watt deal going to get done? Steelers don't let it linger on. Now that training camp is nearly here and on into the preseason, and remember, they had to redo that deal a few years ago, and they were able to get it done like on the eve of the season. Steelers don't have to worry about that this time around, and the two sides come to an agreement, and it's exciting. And look, any team's going to be better with TJ Watt on the roster versus not. And even TJ Watt at limited capacity, again, battled some injuries, played through them a year ago. Still a lot better than many players in the NFL and most players in the NFL. One of the NFL's best when it comes to the defensive side of the football, and just one of the best in the league, regardless, offense, defense. But I can't wait to see what the Steelers defense does. And now that Watt's under contract for the next several seasons, oh man, training camp, preseason, it's going to be a fun season because there's a lot of talent on the defensive side of the football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. My name is Mark Bergin. This is my immediate reaction to TJ Watt signing the 3-year contract extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know what you think in the chat. If you have other questions about this, what the other repercussions are for the Steelers, what this means moving forward, I can do my best to answer some of those. Hop in the Inzer chat, leave a comment, smash that like button. I'm really excited. Arthur's going to be getting back from vacation, so to chop it up with him, now that training camp is nearly here, we're getting to the preseason. Summer's almost over, ladies and gentlemen. The season is almost here, but hope all of you enjoyed this video. Hope all of you have terrific weekends. TJ Watt will be a Pittsburgh Steelers for years to come. Signing off, my name is Mark Bergin on behalf of the Arthur Moats Experience.